Each Sunday night, I'd watch the practice with none of my friends. I'd turn the dial to ABC to see the creep of the week that Bobby Donald defends. But I'm out to practice.
With your hosts, Keith Barney.
Out of practice.
And this guy, Mike Indeglio. Yeah.
Way back in high school, most every night, my mom watched QVC, so I missed the practice. There was no TiVo, what could I do? Wait 15 years, get fat, then stream it on Hulu. Out of practice.
I'm back in Queens for reasons.
Out of practice.
Pro tip, don't go to Steinway Street. I repeat, don't do it. In fact, don't go anywhere.
And welcome to the Out of Practice podcast, a weekly video and audio podcast working our way through David E. Kelley's award-winning series, The Practice. This week we are up to Season 4, Episode 17, Settling. This is Out of Practice, Oops 77, and if you're still listening to us, you are settling for us because we're the only practice podcast out there that I'm aware of. How's it going, Mike?
It's going pretty good. I think we're both cowled up, as they say today. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and by beautiful, I mean it's not 1,000 degrees. It's a wonderful day to curl up with your best buddy and watch a television show from 20 years ago.
It definitely is. It's not hot, but it is super humid.
Yes, it is. My shirt tells that tale.
Yeah, Jillian and I, we went out and ran today when we're having to adjust to running in Astoria now, where all the people are, as opposed to Cape May. And let me tell you, because we run in the industrial area way back between the Con Ed cogeneration plant and the wastewater treatment center, going from the beaches of Cape May to what we call Dead Cat Alley is a bit of an adjustment, but we're doing it. We are keeping on. I'm still low-cal, Keith. I'm still going to be bad.
You know, what's really funny is you guys are running. In fact, last week, I even spent a whole 5 minutes explaining the physiology of the walk-run method to no one's benefit.
Of jeffing.
Yes. And as it turns out, not but a day later, I woke up and I was in pain. My groin / hamstring / quad, a pain I'd never felt before. It's a mix between a bruise and a pulled something.
Your quad?
Yeah, it was bizarre. Ask my wife. I'm like limping all around. There's no bruising that indicates I banged into something, although that's sort of what it feels like. It's not a hernia. I've had one of those. It's unclear as to what I've done to myself, but I'm basically laid up. And so when I do get back into the swing of things, I think I'm going to have to be walking myself. So, old. Hashtag old.
I was going to say, I think you banged into your old.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, well, welcome. I can't wait for you to join the Jeffing Brigade. And that, if you come and do my, chubby half walk, half run, I'd be much more likely to run with you.
Also, I'll point out to all of our listener at home and that one guy watching us on YouTube over and over again, that today is a bit of an impromptu episode. It turns out some scheduling conflicts have popped up, and so we are recording about 2 days early for us. So if things are as crappy as usual, now you know why.
So what was our excuse last week?
There are no excuses. People know at this juncture, I think everyone knows exactly what they've signed up for.
No, what they're settling for.
Keith, oh no, we have an Advil down. We
have
an Advil
cam
down.
Advil cam.
If you'd like to donate to the show and get Keith some extra Advil to get his camera properly set, oh no, oh God.
Oh, this is going to be great.
You can do so. The show notes linked below.
That's right. Throw up the contact screen.
No, it's on a whole nother OBS thing.
I did I built us a contact sheet today. Okay, that's gonna happen a lot.
No, it's not. That was the last time. I feel it.
I don't know. What you know what it is? It's so humid that it's like the gaffer's tape starts to peel off of the camera itself that I'm holding the Advil down.
Interesting.
Oh, we are a charming shit show, are we not? Okay. Well, what do you say we move forward with the show and talk about our
Filings and subpoenas. Filings and subpoenas. Filings and subpoenas. Filings and subpoenas.
We have some communications from new friends and old. We have a new friend on Instagram, CK Golding, wrote on Instagram, I just discovered your podcast via Spotify search for David E. Kelly. My jaw dropped. What an immense idea. The Practice is my joint favorite TV show of all time. I'm looking forward to listening to an episode later today. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, what was it? Immense what?
An immense idea.
Wow. Well, I would say you have an immense undertaking to catch up to season 4, episode 16, because there are hundreds of hours of Keith and I talking at each other.
Yes, well, we have to get across that first threshold of making it through an episode, and then at the end of that, him feeling like, oh, I want more of that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate you can't go backwards in time, because if you look at, and I will not display them here, the drop-off of people who have listened to the pilot to episode 2 is what is the word she used again? One more time?
Immense.
Yeah, that is an immense drop-off.
That is an immense. Well, I feel like that's pretty standard.
Yeah.
And pilots are usually pretty bad. So I would actually be curious. So if CK Golding, if you ever listen to this, if you ever get this far, I would love to know what episode you started with. Mm-hmm. Because people have different strategies for beginning a podcast or auditioning a podcast. And what I do is I will listen to a little bit of the pilot, and then I'll listen to a little bit of the most recent episode to get a sense of what the show is, but also where it's headed. And then I'm a completist, so if I like it, I will go back and watch it.
Yeah, it depends. I don't actually follow a lot of television, sequential type podcasts. So the ones I jump into, generally I'll just listen to the most recent episode, and if I like it, cherry pick the back catalog for things that might interest me.
Oh, yeah. See, I'm either a sequential episode recap guy, or I'm a politics and news. So there's no point in listening to the old stuff there. So anyway, welcome. I hope you choose to stick around against your own best interest.
Yes, and I do want to say I want to recommend that you don't do what we've called the full Jorge, which is going back and listening to all 300 hours of us talking back to back. I feel like the world's going through enough right now. I don't think your mental state could really handle that.
Don't do that to yourself. Well, speaking of Jorge, he has written in with an amazing theory. Now, last week we discussed the dentist's I was about to make fun of you for not remembering his name. His name is Henry, named after Henry Winkler, the guy who played him. And we've done a 3-episode arc on his story where he killed a lady in his dentist chair, but there was jelly smeared all over her mouth, and nobody understands why, including the writing staff, because they never explained it whatsoever. And we gave our guesses as what caused it last week, but Jorge writes in, as a big fan of true crime, I tried to Google murder cases where jelly was involved, and all I could find were these. And he sent some amazing photographs of, it looks like a puppy who got into some jelly, who looks like it has been brutally murdered, but is just covered with jelly, which I was really relieved to see when I clicked into that picture that it was just jelly, because that would have been very upsetting. But he goes into his theory. He says, as for Keith's jelly theory, which was, for me, it was there to attract the roaches that she stepped on because he was a crush person. I think it's a valid point if we are to believe the jar of Welch's was brought in by Dr. Olson. But, warning, long-winded conspiracy theory ahead. While overthinking about this fictional case, I figured the answer to this would be found by looking into the actual murderer or the victim, Lady Stomps-a-Lot. Interesting. If you recall, Henry's hygienist testified that several times a week she'd go into the office early and clean the victim's teeth himself, which he would later find out is in exchange for her doing the jitterbug. Yes, I wish we'd come up with that joke. Of course, that was deleted, but fantastic Wizard of Oz song. We know. We're dorks. It was assumed that Stephen discovered the arrangement that morning and killed her. But if he didn't snap, because this was not... But what if he didn't snap? Because this was not news to him by then. After all, at the time of the murder, Dr. Olson was supposedly in the other room gratifying himself, presumably with a closed door, which would make it hard for Stephen to pull all the pieces together with enough certainty to kill her. I think that, since bugs were not in his jam, Stephen had to preserve his cool and maintain concord until he got confirmation, maybe hearing about the woman's OCD through the grapevine. Okay, I'll stop with the puns now. Keith, don't be such a sour... Anyway, my theory is that Stephen actually planned to strangle her next time his dad left for work early, but his rage ran so deep, like many serial killers, he wanted her to be found with some kind of degrading factor, and what would be the ultimate FU to the victim, leaving her freshly cleaned mouth filled with the 3 worst things for your teeth: dried fruit, citric acid, and high fructose corn syrup. Either that or the Fonz can't tell the difference between grape jelly and petroleum jelly, and hey, who has time to wash their hands before giving someone CPR? That's very interesting, the sort of degradation element of it. I like it.
I do like it as well. You know, there's something else that popped in my head. Thank you, Jorge, for that incredibly thorough conspiracy theory. You know, it basically boils down to, did they find themselves with a giant bulk order of grape jelly, or did they actually place that order because it was that integral to the script? Since it isn't even remotely mentioned again, I can't imagine they ordered all that grape jelly to put into their cabinet. So my guess, my newest guess, Keith,
okay,
is that they were on set. They filmed the shots in the apartment before they did the dentist's office, and they opened the cabinet and they had nothing to fill it. And so they're like, shit, we have to fill this with something. So they just were like, oh, we have the shipment of grape jelly, or for whatever reason they had all this grape jelly. They went to
craft services.
Yeah, and they filled the cabinet with it, and then they had to retcon it into the episode to explain why there was 700 jars of grape jelly in the cabinet.
That is the most insane theory I've had thus far. All right, so we have blamed it on the dentist, the son, the victim, and now set deck.
Yes.
Well, if you have anyone else you would like to blame for the mysterious grape jelly, write us at outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com, or hop on to any of our social medias, or leave a comment below on the YouTubes. Speaking of comments below on the YouTubes, we heard from old friend Phoenix, of course. Phoenix says, this is continuing to talk about last episode entitled Res Ipsa Loquitur. He says, when District Attorney Bay was arguing about Henry's innocence, why didn't he raise the point that the son left no exculpatory suicide note? I considered that myself during the original episode, but I agree with the writers for not having used this as an argument. I thought, did we bring that up, or was I talking?
I brought it up like in real time.
Yeah, because I think that is a really good point. If you're the son and you felt bad for what you had done and the fact that you had thrown your father in prison forever, maybe leave a note. That would have been, not leaving a note. Bit of a dick move. Bit of a laser dick move. All right, so he also says, it went by without notice that Mike was grasping for Henry Winkler's character's first name. It was Henry, of course. I wouldn't call his line in the opening scene a joke that was intended for laughs. It was more like gallows humor, but it sure got a good laugh out of my co-host.
However, that good laugh did not make it into the final edit, Keith, so nobody knows what you're talking about. I cut out a good portion of the
You
laugh
got it.
because if I didn't want it to be assumed that I was taking the piss, if you will.
Well, see, I tried to save you from yourself, and you saved you from yourself.
I won't let it pass, though. In his previous comment about the suicide note, he does go on to mention that he thinks that would actually minimize the probable mental that it wouldn't have accurately represented the general mental state of those committing suicide who aren't usually that premeditated about it. So I think that
Right, sure. In real life, definitely.
yeah. Would it have made the episode a little more interesting? Maybe, but
Well, it would have, on some level, I think, made the episode moot.
yeah,
Because
good
if
point.
you'd left an exculpatory note, there's really no reason to go through all that rigmarole.
That's true. Has anybody else chatted with us?
That's what I have in front of me, and Lord knows I was not captain organized today because of our impromptu episode. All right, that means it is time to hop back into the time machine to March 12th, the year 2000. And that brings us to our eternal question. What was going on?
This day in the basement.
Oh, this day in the basement. How I love you so. You know what? I love you so much. I'm gonna crop this better. I mean, everybody deserves a better crop, don't you think? Yeah, there we go.
Oh, ooh. Boy, that was a difference that people without OCD would notice.
Listen. All right. So, as I've mentioned, and I will continue to mention, it's all fuzzy wuzzy. And there hasn't been enough Facebook. I guess Facebook wasn't quite happening. I don't know where we were in social media in 2000.
No,
just yet.
I think Facebook was 2004, maybe? It was later. We definitely didn't have much social media at this point. Maybe MySpace? I forget.
But I did come across, I was still living at home, my original house, and I did come across a photograph from on my brother's Facebook that was a picture of my sister and I taking place. It seems to be her junior prom, so probably in April. So I'm probably a little early, but nonetheless, we're in the universe.
We'll allow it. We'll allow it.
Before I show that photograph, I want to point out, because we've just passed what would have been my wife's 20th birthday, wherever
Happy
she
birthday,
was.
Jen.
She says
She's
she
in the
was
kitchen.
doing. Well, she was actually still in college, like a good person. She was she was in West Side Story at NYU. I believe she was playing Maria, even though that probably wouldn't happen these days.
Probably not, no.
Being,
But I imagine she was amazing.
oh, I'm sure she was. She went on to do the tour in Germany. Is that right? Something like that. I don't know. Switzerland. I don't know. She's fancy. But anyway, back to me. Wait till Keith. You remember my bad haircut from a month or two ago?
Oh, do I?
If you could only talk to almost 20-year-old Mike, 19 years old, here's me and my sister.
Oh, yes. Look at you, you little hoodlum.
Doesn't it look like I'm wearing a head mic?
It definitely... What were you going for? Like the little Superman curl? Or
I don't know.
did you have like
what
an
is
injury?
happening. I don't know what is happening, but you can see behind my left ear there, my dad had a weird thing about doors. And so a lot of, like, the door to my basement and the door to our, like, fancy sitting area, there were no doors. They were gates. So behind my left ear, you can actually see the wrought iron portion of one of the gates. That was a very...
Now, was there a reason for the aversion to doors and the love of gates? Was it to keep you from up what you were going to be up to in the basement?
Yeah,
or?
I think he didn't want a lot of, like, privacy. We weren't allowed to lock our doors. No girls
Interesting.
upstairs. It was a very, I think you're going to do bad stuff, so I'm going to prevent that. And you know what? To his credit, that my intention was generally to do bad stuff. So
Yeah, well, my parents never had to implement the no girls downstairs because there were no girls. So no problem.
this one time, my brother had a girl downstairs, and I tried to hold my sister's feet and, like, lower her down the basement steps so that she could spy and see what was going on down there. And damned if I didn't drop her, and she just, like, scooted down the steps. Yeah. Oh, man.
That is amazing. That
All
is
right,
amazing.
so that's what I was doing. Keith, let's go over to the cold basement of Rochester, New York.
The cold basement of my dorm room, and I actually know what I was doing this week. I was voting in Super Tuesday of the primaries of the 2000 presidential election. And you see here on the Republican side, it was George W. Bush and John McCain. And on the Democratic side, it was Al Gore versus Bill Bradley, the ex-basketball player. And so I was voting in the Vermont Democratic primary, and I frankly don't remember whether I voted for Bradley or Gore, because they were both sort of like, genial, moderate guys. And although Gore, if we had known how awesome Gore was while he was doing this, we would have had a very different election. Anyway, very consequential.
Yeah, we're going to devote a good portion of this day in the basement when we get to November 2000.
Yeah, right. Seriously. But in the primary, in the Democratic side, it was really just Gore versus Bill Bradley. On the Republican side, it was Bush versus McCain versus Steve Forbes and Alan Keyes were the top 4 contenders at that point. And if you are counting in Vermont, which of course I was, Al Gore won the primary and John McCain won the Republican primary in Vermont. So that's what was going on this day in the basement, which takes us to...
It's time for the Out of Practice Podcast's This Day in the World. The greatest hits, the biggest movies, headlines from Vermont, essential sports updates, and for some inexplicable reason, the weather from 20 years ago. Now back to Keith and Mike.
Thanks, Eric. Let's talk about March 12th, the year 2000. The number 1 song was Amazed by Lone Star, which I kind of missed this.
You missed this?
I was at opera school. I would have been beaten with shoes if I'd listened to pop music.
Oh, had you had that first sort of love in your heart, that first girl that's going to break your heart, this song came in handy.
I was actively going through that at this time, but we were listening to a Bach cello suite instead.
Well, that explains a lot.
It doesn't it though? The top movie was Mission to Mars. The Gary Sinise, Don Cheadle, and Tim Robbins movie took in $22 million. And the cover of the Burlington Free Press, of course, said Bush is victorious in the South Carolina primary.
Wait, tell me more about that movie. I don't know that I know anything about that movie.
Mission to Mars? It was it was about a movie. And with Gary Sinise, Don Cheadle, and Tim Robbins, and they went on a mission to Mars.
Oh, interesting. All right.
So I'm assuming there was some sort of a spaceship involved.
Everybody loves a Gary Sinise, Don Cheadle vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good cast.
Great cast.
I do not believe the movie was good. I think I saw it. I don't necessarily remember. Thank you.
High praise.
Very much. Amazed by Lone Star cover. Which, of course, now brings us to everyone's favorite segment.
It's time for sports ball.
The Flyers lost to Colorado 3-1 in Denver. Jody Hull scored the only goal for Philly. Milan Hajduk and Joe Sakic scored for Colorado. Ray Bourque wore the Avs sweater after having been traded to Boston from Boston on March 6th after playing for Beantown for 21 years. The Bruins beat Montreal 5-3 in the Molson Center. Brian Rolston and Joe Thornton scored, and Robbie Tallis got the win.
In sports ball today, I want to say, listen, folks, welcome back baseball. Opening night was last night, and tonight the Phillies, that's why I'm donning the cap, the Phillies opened their 60-game stint this evening.
Oh, well, and Tony Fauci threw out the opening pitch last night, and we all loved Tony.
He made an attempt.
He did. Well, look, Tony Fauci is an American hero, and I am I have his back in a street fight. But my mother-in-law did get in the best joke about it. He socially distanced the ball from the plate.
So I wasn't planning to do this, but since we're here, I want to point this out. Let me find it first. I'll put it in maybe in better audio. No, I'm going to play it just as is.
No, we do crappy audio here.
Yeah, so last night, during the ball game, what ends up happening is they do a Black Lives Matter tribute, which was really beautiful. They were all holding like a black ribbon, and then they all took a knee, and it was really powerful. But juxtaposed to that was this guy singing the national anthem and just wailing. I'm going to play it for you because it's that funny.
I missed it. Yeah.
Yeah. And on top of that, there are, because there's no fans in the stadium, there are cardboard cutouts in the stands.
Did they really? Is that what they did?
Yes. So behind this like really powerful Black Lives Matter tribute, this guy is wailing, as you'll hear, and there's just like close-ups of like cardboard cutouts of like crazy fans doing this and making faces, and Nicole Kidman. You could see Nicole Kidman. It was absolutely insane. So I'm going to get to the good part here. Hold on.
That is absolutely bonkers. Yeah, the NHL, which is the one I'm excited about, is going to do it differently than that. They've got sort of LCD screens where they're going to show actual fans who submitted
cool.
videos. Yeah.
All right, so hopefully you can hear this.
If you're wondering what Mike and Jen sound like when they're in the cups, there it is. Oh, yes, get it.
I'll see if the camera. You know what? I'll post an Instagram of the cardboard cutouts. It's really crazy.
Wow. Well, that was the most prolonged sports ball. Phoenix is still skipping ahead, trying to figure out how to get out of this.
They can't possibly be going this far.
No, like, what are they doing? Okay, well, that was a profound waste of time, and now...
I'm a human being, god damn it! My life has value, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
It's time to talk about the damn episode!
Okay, this episode is entitled Settling. It is season 4, episode 17. It was written by David E. Kelley, of course, and Todd Ellis Kessler, who last wrote on Committed. This is his last episode on The Practice.
Oh, well, we wish you well in all your future endeavors.
Indeed. By future, we mean the next 20 years, which have already happened. And it is directed by Arvin Brown, who last directed on Committed, which leaves us with only one question.
I liked your impromptu guitar last time.
What is that supposed to mean?
Yeah, I don't have any...
What's your problem?
Jillian has all the guitars in the other room.
Is this what happens to women when you insert your penis?
What? What does Mike think gonna
happen? You know, what if he would have drank the curdled milk? Then what would have happened?
Keith, we are barreling head first into the season finale, and we know that our friends over at the Practice Writing Room like to leave us on a cliff hanging from our little fingers.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to start throwing up some really dramatic types of conflict. Settling.
Okay.
I know we've approached this before, but here's what I think. We ended up last season with Bobby's big proposal to Lindsay, and we haven't really dealt with it much other than a couple of freakouts on both their sides. You will recall the wedding dress, if you will.
Wedding dress fiasco, yes.
Settling. I think either Bobby or Lindsay or both of them start to have wicked cold feet, fearing that maybe they're settling for each other. And this episode is going to center around maybe the beginning of the collapse of Bobby and Lindsay.
Whoa, that's a... So are you predicting that Bobby and Lindsay are not fated to be feted?
I think that by the end of season 4, that will be the question. The cliffhanger will be, oh no, is the firm going to collapse because Bobby and Lindsay's romance has collapsed?
Interesting. All right.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's it is certainly a long-running show's trope. Is, you get together, you fall apart, you get together, you question things, and and so on and so forth. We still have a few episodes left in season 4 before we get into Crazy Town. Yeah, but it's very interesting. I'm very curious to see what you think of what happens from here on out, and about this very episode, which is Season 4, Episode 16, Settling, which you can hear us talk about and listen to over on your favorite podcasting service. Links below.
Links
And
are
we'll be
below,
back.
and if you're too lazy, there will be a QR code. You're looking at it right now. It'll take you right to the episode, directly to when we start talking about it, because I don't want you to have to do anything but sit back, relax, have a snack, and listen to us talk about a TV show that aired 20 years ago after we run this ad for Anchor that you don't have to listen to if you're on the YouTube.
Okay, we have now just watched The Practice, Season 4, Episode 16, and we are settling into Take 5 of this segment. What is going to happen? I am... Oh, you all right? So you put the old timer up there.
Yeah,
I am really curious to see what's going to explode when you recap this episode for the 5th time.
It's really something special happening for some.
This might be a
reason.
record. I don't think we've ever done 5 takes of a segment before. We don't do multiple takes unless something crashes.
There's no reason it should have crashed like it did, though. That's the whole first segment of the show was great. I think. Who knows? When I go back and watch it,
Yeah,
there might
I'm
not
pretty
be any
nervous
visual.
now. It's going
All
to
right,
be.
well,
we're going to be audio only this week.
You know what it's time for.
It is time for.
Mike has 30 seconds to remember what just happened on the show.
Donnie Wahlberg appears, and he kidnaps Bobby because Bobby screwed the pooch on his case 12 years ago, sent him to prison after cutting a deal. Now Donnie is enacting his revenge, uses Bobby and some other guy named Seymour to convince Donnie's girlfriend that he actually was innocent. But after proving that he was innocent, he's left with nothing to do, so he tries to cut a weird deal to get out of any sort of trouble, but Ray Abruzzo gets the firing squad to shoot him dead, and Bobby goes home, shaken, but still in love with Lindsay.
And Rosie O'Donnell's there.
And Rosie O is in it.
Rosie O is there. Okay, well, at the risk of everyone's sanity, it is time for everyone's favorite fake award show.
Oh, yeah, there's an intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Out of Practice podcast, in unofficial, unsolicited, unfactual association with David E. Kelly Productions, proudly present
Oopsie.
the Oopsies! Celebrating excellence in acting good, lawyering good, guesting good, and being Tom Brady. Not to mention, this is where we rate the episode and stuff. Now, here are your hosts, Keith and Mike.
What the hell are the oopsies?
Well, the Oopsies are a fake awards show that we do at the end of every episode of The Practice and of Out of Practice, and we begin, as always, with...
Most valuable.
Well, what's interesting here is that, well, there's a lot of things interesting taking place. What's interesting is that not a lot of
We never saw
lawyering.
the inside of a courtroom. That's right.
And the whole episode is predicated on the fact that Bobby was not the most valuable lawyer.
Like a bad lawyer. Right,
Yeah.
right.
Interestingly, also, Rebecca sort of figured the case out before anybody else did. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think?
It's clearly Rebecca.
Yeah.
Because Rebecca remembered the case and the basic details of it, then used that recollection to go and find in their records the address of the grandfather. So Rebecca clearly saved the day using her lawyer skills.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so yeah, Rebecca Washington.
She's clearly the MVL for this show about settling, which is also out of practice.
What we're going to have to do with this episode is just settle for whatever.
We are settling for whatever is happening here with the new program, which didn't work last week, but you're like, let's do it again.
I really thought I solved it. I did
really
not.
thought I solved it is the subtitle for Out of Practice.
I really did not solve it.
All right, next up, we have an important category called...
Already famous cause you've been on TV, getting a paycheck. Or the first entry on your IMDb. Way to go, but you're the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor on the episode.
Yeah.
Okay, best guest actor.
Well, here, Keith, before we get to the actual best guest actor, we're going to do what we seldom do, which is give out a honorable mention.
Oh, and this might be our first honorable mention?
An honorable mention / unnecessary guest actor? Oopsie?
Jorge, we're going to have to add something to the spreadsheet.
Yeah. So this is going to go, that goes to Rosie O'Donnell, who was in a scene because reasons?
Well, I have, wait. I actually have a...
Conspiracy theory.
Okay.
My conspiracy theory is that for some reason, and I don't know if I actually have to, a better podcast would look up and see what lot the Rosie show filmed on. But I think she was just there on the lot and they're like, hey, you want to do one scene as a cameo? And they like rewrote the scene on the back of a napkin and threw Rosie into it because she just happened to be there.
That's possible. Right now, I'm going to show the picture that I guess you guys didn't hear. Oh, I guess you did, because you definitely went back and listened to the episode. You're not just
obviously
watching.
Listen to the episode. There's no way you would just watch. Think about that. Just really think through the logic of that. So they're like, I really, really want to watch this podcast about the practice, but I would really like to cut out all of the parts that are about the practice and just watch these two narcissists on webcams gibber at each other.
So we're going to show the bit. My wife mentioned the picture that was in the paper. Since we can't credit the actual photographer because we don't know who took the picture, we're not going to show the picture as it appeared in the paper. We're just going to show the picture. Here it is. Wow, isn't that funny?
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. What a great picture.
Here's
So
a great
this
picture.
when we see it, it'll be Jen with Rosie O'Donnell and Harvey Fierstein in the 2004, 2003,
2004.
the second 2004 revival of Fiddler at the Minskoff Theater on the Broadway, and I'm really excited to see that picture.
So the actual best guest actor, in my humble opinion,
did you show the picture, or are you going to add it in post?
Well, I'm not touching anything, so that will definitely be in post. But
all right. Oh wow, it was so good. Look at that. Wait, here it is. Look at that
No.
picture.
We're off screen. This is above. It's totally taking up the full frame. It'll make it look pretty. I'm gonna have so many mea culpas in the editing department. I think the actual best guest actor has to go to. Now, you would think Donnie Wahlberg would hang tough, but I don't think he's the best guest actor.
Oh.
He is the most on-screen best guest actor. But as we've learned from our good friend Phoenix, that's not always what it's about, is it? I think the best performance given by a best guest actor, I'm just saying best a lot. The best performance given by a guest actor, in my opinion, this episode is Paula Malcolmson, who played Susie Green, or Donnie's girlfriend, who was, every scene she's in this episode is high stakes, high stress, and she is excellent. I'll let you expound.
Yeah, I do think that she's excellent. She's always excellent. She frequently plays characters in great distress. She's made a career out of playing characters in great distress because apparently that's easy to access for her. Poor thing. Anyway, she's really, really terrific in it. However, for the guy who spent most of the podcast making fun of
Don't play more than just a few seconds.
Oh, right. Oh, well, I forgot we're back on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
No, I think that wasn't enough.
No, we're definitely going to get We are absolutely going to get clocked for that. Well, we're going to get clocked. He did a lot of clocking of other actors, what looked like possibly really doing it. But I actually thought Donnie Wahlberg did a very good and credible job in this episode. And I think began to show a lot more range than just being in a boy band. He's a real actor. And I thought he did a really good job in this. It's a very sort of like intense and visceral performance. I would like to see a little bit more vulnerability there, but I thought he did a very good job. So my half of the oopsie goes to none other than New Kid on the Block, Donnie Wahlberg. So congratulations on Paula Malcolmson and Donnie Wahlberg for your best guest actor, which brings us to...
You killed your podiatrist or blew the case, but you let a single tear run down your face. You're the best actor on the show. Rah.
I think it's Bobby's episode, though Kelly Williams does some great acting. In fact, the whole troupe does, and even Helen Gamble has some really kind of, Lara Flynn Boyle does some great stuff. But I think Bobby showed why Dylan McDermott showed why he's so excellent in the role of Bobby Donnell. High stakes, plus playing both sides of the plot, and also a really awesome, even though it really wasn't about Lindsay, in the end, when they have that scene where they sort of make it about Lindsay, I thought he really sold that, even though it was sort of like kind of quick at the end. So Dylan McDermott is my OOPSY Award winner for Best Actor.
Yeah, clearly. He had to sort of carry an entire episode, at least from our main cast perspective, and do a lot of reacting and a lot of reacting to a very big performance and being able to match it. And I thought he really did. And I loved the beat at the end. And yeah, clearly. Dylan McDermott, congratulations on your oopsie for season 4, episode 16, which brings us to
the Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady.
Totally.
So last week, the Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady went to, where did it go? Oh, the Fonz, Tom Brady, which Michael I didn't post. Sorry, your weekend disappeared. It's so funny. It just
so
poof,
fast.
It's gone.
Yeah. Well, not if none of this recorded. So in which case, it'll be pretty easy.
It's true. That will just be audio, old school. So who does the Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady go to? For the Out of Practice podcast, season 4, episode 16.
Well, I think that it only makes sense this week to throw it to New Kid on the Brady.
Yes.
Like. Yeah.
I was gonna go hostage Tom Brady, but New Kid on the Brady is even better.
Yeah, because I want to. The question is, are you going to put a 6th New Kid in, or are you going to just replace one of them with Brady? We'll have to see.
I don't know, but anything could happen. So congratulations to New Kid on the Brady, who wins the Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady.
Or do you think it's better if it's Hangin' Tom?
That's probably a bad idea.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right.
Okay, well, New Kid on the Brady, congratulations, which mercifully leaves us with only one thing to do, and that is...
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to announce how many spare tires this episode gets.
Well, up until this last fiasco, I would say that I had one of my more entertaining times doing the Oops episode. It was a Bobby McRambo in reverse. It was like a McRambo 3 where he's being held captive and has to escape. Really enjoy that. I thought the plot was pretty sound. I thought the stakes were high. It's different. It's a different show because there was no legal drama taking place, really.
Right.
And even the relitigation of his case, which I thought we would do a lot of more flashbacks and we'd be really kind of, even that was really not taking place. They figured out that pretty quickly. It was sort of more a Law and Order SVU type of episode.
Yeah, it was. It was like a 90s like action film. Like Morgan Freeman would be in it.
And I
with, like,
guess
Ashley
they just
Judd.
used Rosie for all the promos, I guess, because she was pretty popular at the time.
Right, right.
Regardless, I'm going to say 7 spare tires.
7 spare tires. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. And yeah, I think this was during Sweeps Week. So probably why we shoehorned in a new kid and Rosie. I'm torn. I'm really torn about this episode because it was entertaining, but it didn't feel like an episode of The Practice.
Right.
It didn't feel earned. It felt kind of out of nowhere. And I'm not averse to the old client you fucked over 15 years ago comes back and, goes for revenge. Like that's a perfectly valid plot point. But I wish that I wish the case itself had been more interesting. That what was interesting about it were the stakes, but not what happened in the past that we were relitigating. And so it all sort of came out a little tidy. That said, I thought the performances were good. It was shot well. It was compelling for sure. But did it feel earned? And do I feel like it feels like a shoehorned one-off? Like I'll be curious to see if the consequences of this continue past this episode, or whether this is sort of like a little fever dream of an episode. I'm having a hard time coming up with a number because I liked it, but I didn't. So I'm going to give it 6.5 spare tires.
So math.
So 6.75 spare tires. Okay, well, you have made your way through another episode of the Out of Practice podcast. If you would like to reach us, look, we have a contact sheet. On Facebook and Instagram, we are at Out of Practice. You can email us at outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com. Check out our blog, which I'll update soon, I promise, at Out of Practice podcast@blogspot.com. Join the jury, but don't judge us on this episode, and leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or any other service. Just let us know. You can donate to the pod by what Mike says with his mouth.
As always, you can donate to the show in one of 2 ways, a one-time donation or a monthly contribution. You can find the appropriate links to do so in our show notes. We'd like to thank all of our current and future sponsors for helping us keep the show going somehow, and to anyone who engages with us on social media. You can also support the show, did you know, by leaving a review, as Keith mentioned, but also by recommending the show to a friend who might enjoy our nonsense or watching The Practice for the first time. Now, Keith, I need you to do me a favor.
Yeah.
I need you to grab your phaser, affix a hanger to it, wrap it around your old lawyer's neck, call up Rosie O'Donnell, tell her you're in town, and fire off some laser sounds.
Laser sounds! Pew pew.
Pew pew indeed.